Welcome to Podcrushed. You're catching us mid-laugh because we can't stop laughing here.
We're so fun
We just
and
can't
funny.
stop. We just can't stop. Behind the scenes, on camera, where does it end? It doesn't. Oh, Sophie, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. You know, our guest today is Nwodim. She has a new podcast, which I love. I'm obsessed with the premise. It's called Thanks, Dad, and she interviews people who are old enough to be her dad, arguably, or who are fathers. And in honor of that, so with that in mind, I wanted to ask you guys, what is a favorite memory that you have with your dad from your childhood?
You know, my first memory, period, that I can recall, and it's very, 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 very young, is of my father's face, giant, because I'm little. I'm under a red blanket that my aunt actually made me. I didn't know this, of course, at the time, but I know this is, I can fact check that.
Yeah.
My aunt made me this rainbow blanket that has a red inside, so I'm underneath it. It's just all red, and it's like I'm at a music festival, and his face is huge. And that is, it's always been an interesting first, like, definitive memory. Like, it's very, very early, and it's just his face is very happy, and it's very warm. Yeah.
I love that.
Sweet.
I have two sort of the first things that came to mind. I have two. One is we had a swimming pool in our apartment complex, and every once in a while, my dad would come swimming with. Well, I guess the whole family. We'd go down to the pool, and my dad would play shark in the pool, where he would be like da na 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 na, and then hit us with his head, like hit our bellies with his head.
Wait,
Nava
hold
just
on,
knocked her
Nava just did something
microphone.
so cute and charming. She's like trying to tell this story, and she hits the microphone with her hand. Yeah. Oh, that was like a noob move right there.
Yeah. And he would just plummet burrow. I don't know what the word is. His head into our tummies when he was like the shark attacking us. But I just remember that and be like screaming when he was approaching, and then screaming when he'd put his head in our belly. That's the first thing. And then the other is that my mom was an amazing cook, and she cooked almost every meal for us. But once in a while, my dad would cook for us, and his mom is from my grandma's from Mississippi. And she had like a Southern fried chicken recipe. And so every once in a while, like every few years, not even once a year, my dad would make us his mom's Southern fried chicken, mashed potatoes and corn, and we would pack it and go on a picnic to the rainforest. And that always felt like such a treat when my dad cooked for us instead of my mom. It was very special.
My dad would tell these like epic tales at bedtime. Callan is my brother, Syria is my sister, and then I'm Sophie, so it's like KSS. And he had these three characters that we would follow like night after night. And they were like Kina, Suti, and Suki or something. So they were like modeled after us, but like it was like kind of a secret.
That's really cute.
And yeah, it was like the best time. We would wait for those stories.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, love my dad.
Shout out. Thanks to all the dads out there.
Thanks, Dad. Well, speaking of,
Perfect.
my God, it's such a good segue. Although you know the hallmark of a terrible segue is when you say segue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just cut
that's
that.
where
for mudding this
I'm
up,
falling
Penn.
short. Yeah. We have today somebody we've been pursuing since the early days. Is it season 1? Is that accurate?
Since season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember, I feel like we were getting emails. Was it that she was saying yes but couldn't do it, or like she just didn't want
I think
to?
in season 1, no reply, if I'm being candid. In season 2, she started saying yes, and we'd get dates, and then one of us would have to cancel it. It was it was always a close call, and then
She
it would just
sought
never come through.
after.
Yeah.
Nwodim, comedian and actor. She stops by the pod today. You know her from SNL, mostly, where she's been a cast member for the last 7 years. She's also, as we've said, a new fellow podcaster. She has one called Thanks, Dad, a truly unique premise, as we've described, talking to people about their dads. She's got a new Peacock series called Mr. Throwback, which is great. I've seen several episodes. Steph Curry's in it. Honestly, what more do you need? But she and her co-stars are phenomenal. In a few moments, you are going to know her from her infamous appearance on the old Podcrushed. Back soon. Welcome to Podcrushed. We're your hosts. I'm Penn.
I'm Sophie.
And I'm Nava, and I think we would have been your middle school besties.
Being in love with somebody madly for 72 hours and then killing them.
Oh,
Yeah,
God. Only you did that.
weird. You'll get it when you hear the episode. Don't worry. Ego, thank you
Hi,
for coming on, and thank you for being a part of this.
happy to.
We start in middle school because these two here, Nava and Sophie, they're former middle school teachers and administrators. I didn't finish middle school because I was already living in Hollywood and working.
Wow.
So yeah, we just start in middle school because it's a transformative period of life, around about 12. So give us a snapshot.
12. Raised by a single mom, 12, who worked a lot. I think she was doing her residency in West Virginia, actually. I think
Wow.
Wheeling, West Virginia. So mom lived between West Virginia and our home in Baltimore. I was well behaved, but really had a mouth on me. I'll say that. Just really defiant.
Yeah.
I was really defiant. But guess what? That hasn't changed. And I was just really becoming who I am today. But I was like a good kid. 6th grade, I feel like I got in trouble for talking a lot in class, as did, it seems, everyone who turned out to be an actor or freaking news anchor.
Yeah.
Though I think one's more respectable than the other.
Which one?
We won't say which.
I'm kidding. But I was like, I went to church on my own volition. I was raised Christian, but my mom was working a lot. So like on a Sunday, she might be in West Virginia. And so then I'd be like, I'm going to go to
And you
church
went
today.
to church. That's amazing.
Yes, I remember my aunt called one Sunday, called me and was like, did you go to church today? And I was like, no, because my mom's at work. And then she was like, well, your relationship with God is between you and God and not you, God, and your mom. And I thought, interesting. And she was right. And it stuck with me. That really stuck with me. So
So how is your relationship with God right now? Go.
Okay, honey. It's good. It's really good. And you know why it's really good? Because God is amazing, and because I'm just a human doing my damn best.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm allowed. I just heard a sermon that was like, I listened to sermons on podcasts. I actually like stopped going to church a while ago, and I started like a month ago going back to church. But I stopped. But truly, this pastor was like, he was recounting a sermon. The notion that I appreciated that he was expressing was like, well, God's consistent and constant. And at any given time, you're just trying your best. So I say my relationship with God is great, but not because I'm anything besides trying my best. And it's always going to be great because God's consistent. I'm the one that's changing.
Yeah.
As Kendrick says, tell him that we ain't shit, but he's being perfect. That's what he says about God.
I'm really on a Kendrick kick. I listen to him at least once a day for my health. Because the diss tracks are so good. I was just listening to the Takeover. I'm a big Jay-Z fan. It's kind of boring fact about me. I feel like it's like, no, I shouldn't say this on record. Okay, never mind.
You can say it and we can cut
We're
it.
keeping that. We're keeping all that implies.
Okay, you know what? Here. It's like saying you're a Beyonce fan, and I think Beyonce is that girl. Let me be very clear. Keep that in, okay?
Yeah.
She there's no competition there. Full stop. Saying you're a Beyonce fan somehow, though, seems like basic in that I don't want to see a clip that this episode is titled Ego says Beyonce fans are basic. I'm very clear. And that's not what I'm saying.
Unfortunately, you gave us the idea.
Go on.
Of course you're a Beyonce fan. She's incredible.
Yeah.
So there's like, duh.
What kind
but then
are
on the
you?
other hand, what kind of basic or kind of Beyonce fan?
I was thinking, what kind of Beyonce fan?
Like a super fan. Yeah.
No, I'm like it's like a tip my hat, like I respect you, but I've been saying this because I'm not necessarily an R&B girly. I enjoy it from time to time. I listen to, I gotta think of the right adjective because again, the sound bites. I listen to music people don't think that I listen to. I think people think of me in one way, and then if you like spent 2 days with me, you go, oh, she's not what I thought. So that's not really my genre, though I enjoy it. And I think she's incredible. I've said that since college. I was like, she's it and there's no competition. And now look at her. But so I'm a big Jay-Z fan. And I feel like that somehow feels basic to say because it's like, well, duh, he's incredible. But then I want to like be able to defend my fandom and say, but if you listen to the deep cuts and the double entendres and the
So you really
lyrics
mean it? Yeah, you just
I
mean
really mean it.
Okay.
Which is a
We believe you.
Dipset song I listen to a lot. That's one of the songs that people would think that I don't, but yeah. Anyway, as recently as yesterday on a road trip from upstate.
Ego, who were you listening to at 12? I'm gonna bring it back.
Not Spice Girls, because I wasn't that age when they were like popping, but like somewhere in that pop girly. I feel like I used to love Pills by Pink. That was my shit. I'm lying here on the floor where you left me. I think I took too much. Why is a 12-year-old listening to a woman sing about
I was listening to
substance
Red
abuse?
Light Special the other day and thinking about how I used to listen to that when I was 12. Like, why was I listening to Red Light Special when I was 12
It's
years
not
old?
appropriate.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate.
I mean, guys, Eminem at 12. I was listening
Oh my
to that
God.
at 12.
Oh,
like,
wait,
that
I
is
was-
bonkers.
Thank you. Napster, downloading
Yes,
music
yes.
illegally.
Yeah.
I was a full thief. Downloading music illegally.
You were a pirate.
I was a freaking pirate ass little bitch. I was listening to Superman by Eminem on repeat.
Oh, yeah.
I played Superman every day as though it was my water, my
Saturday
bread,
through
my
Sunday,
sustenance.
Monday through Sunday.
To Sunday, ho!
Oh.
Maybe you'll love me one day. Listen, we
Maybe
could go.
you'll one day grow.
He
whatever.
knows.
I'm not
He
in.
knows. He knows. Kindred spirits here.
Ego, I heard you say that you had perfect attendance, maybe in high school, maybe not all throughout school, but that you like fought for it. Like you went to school sick
I
just to get that
did,
perfect
like,
attendance. But then you described yourself also as defiant. And I wonder how those two coexist.
I don't think I make sense to me, but I am defiant. Like, I don't like people telling me what to do. And someone recently was like, hey, go, that's terrible. I think it was Io Debris. I was saying, yeah, I such and such, and I go, because I don't like people telling me what to do. She was like, what? But I don't like people telling me what to do. And so I think that's where the defiance comes in. Now, the perfect attendance is just like probably a mental illness of some sort that's undiagnosed, because there was no reason, means nothing to anyone. I'm a grown woman now. No one cares. But I was committed to it because I just decided, I kind of like make up my mind about certain things. And then I'm like, this is it. Like now I think, I shouldn't mess up. There's certain fast food places I think are disgusting now, right? I used to love. And now I go, I think that place is gross. And now that my mind is made up that it's gross, I can't deviate from that. And so I was like, mine was made up. I was going to get perfect attendance. And so we did it. And guys, this is pre-COVID, obviously. And I was never like cold sick. I just always had a stomach ache. I have a stomach ache right now. It's part of my personality. Part of my personality. Yeah. So I'd go to school, like fully have like a stomach virus and be like, I'm just going to get up every 5 minutes in class. And you know what happens when you have a stomach virus and you're getting up every 5 minutes. And we don't have to say.
My friend has a t-shirt. She got a t-shirt made that just says "My tummy hurts," and I need to send you one.
Please do. That's I like got a nutritionist a couple of years ago, and because I was like, okay, this whole my stomach hurts thing is getting out of hand, and we figured out I have like a gluten sensitivity, which is crazy.
It's always the gluten.
But my office mate at work was like, now that you know what's wrong with you and how to avoid it, what's your personality gonna be?
That's great.
I don't know. But we're back, baby. I had a ton of gluten this weekend and I'm paying for it.
I had to take a bite of a donut because I'm so hungry. And
Can we snack on this podcast?
Yes, you
Apparently.
I think we should start. I had to do it. You're talking about
we ever have.
I actually just had.
You just took that bite, but
I just had either a stomach virus or food poisoning last week. Like literally last week. While I was in LA for this lovely podcast.
Food poisoning or stomach virus? Because when he was here, he was saying, I swear it's food poisoning.
Definitely.
Don't worry.
No,
It's just
I never said swear. I said there's no way to tell ultimately, but it really feels like food poisoning. And all I'm saying now is like the symptoms are indistinguishable. I had it last week. So
yeah.
I'm still
Did
recovering.
any of you catch it from
We didn't,
Penn?
but we avoided him for
No.
48 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're recovering.
So
you
it
need
worked
to
in my
eat.
favor.
Okay.
Yeah. But, okay, back to you.
12. I'm 6. We're still in 6th grade.
So this is something that I just want you to like add to the strain of how you're viewing it, because we like to go deep. We don't ever try to probe and get too sensitive if it feels like it. So
Yeah.
You have 2 episodes available of your podcast, Thanks Dad, which I've listened to. And as I was saying before, you're not only are you a generous listener and I think a great podcast host.
Thank you.
And you start out, I mean, so far, every episode, you make the serious joke that you never knew your father because he's dead. Right?
You think that's funny?
Everyone's like, that was not a joke.
It's a serious joke.
Hearing people laugh about it is
I know. Well,
pure joy to me. Actually, it is funny. Yeah.
Nava's
But I
mom
did
is
know him.
also dead, and we laugh about that a lot here.
You've got a dead
Nava was
mom.
waiting
Yeah.
for you to bring it up.
Listen, my parents are at the threshold. We're all gonna die soon.
Everybody's gonna die at some point. I'm reading a book, Pay My Children. I bought it. I have too many books right now, and I was like, "You're not allowed to buy any more books." But then I was at McNally the other day, like a month ago, and I saw a Pay My Children book. How we live is how we die, and I thought I have to buy it. I'm not really allowed to buy any more books.
Yeah.
She's talking a lot about like people being scared of death, and I'm like, I don't think I'm scared of death.
Same.
Like, I don't think so. I kind of like, it's gonna happen. How is it gonna happen? Well, that's spooky to think about, but then again, not that spooky. Because here's the thing: when you die, it's over. It's a wrap. Like,
Exactly.
so I think all these like intense feelings cease, and so it's fine. Yes, I laugh about the dead dad thing. Because I used to have a theory, guys.
Okay.
I had a theory that if he died, I wouldn't care. So I think part of why I even saying it on the podcast, no one knows this. No one knows this about me. I keep talking about like, do I seem like a girl who doesn't have a dad? I mean, in theory, I have a dad, had a dad, have a dad, whatever. But like, do I come off as a girl who's like, I feel like in the movies and in TV shows, they're like, you're seeking validation and like you want a man to, and I'm like, I don't want a man to do a motherfucking thing for me. So I
Because he
don't
wasn't
think-
there.
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. I feel very neutrally about. I'm like, a man could do a thing for me, and I'll be appreciative. But am I like vying for validation? And no. And so anyway, he did pass last year. I want to say
So
last
it's very
summer.
recent.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
very
he did.
recent.
I was at a spa when. Well, my mom told me, and then my uncle on his side called me, who I'm relatively close to, and he's like, you might not feel anything. And I thought, thank you for saying that, because I don't. And you're affirming me right now in that you recognize, given that they didn't really have a relationship, this might not mean anything to you. And it kind of didn't. And I kind of, to all the people who were like, no, you're going to be so sad that you don't have the possibility of a relationship. And I'm like, our lack of relationship is not a matter of like rejection from him. It's me going in the interactions I've had with you. It seems you'd be introducing a level of chaos into my life that I probably am not here for. The chaos I'm into is like going on tangents when I'm doing a podcast, eating gluten when you know you have a gluten, a sensitivity. Going on a date, and not so much this anymore, but going on a date for the story. But I'm out on that right now. So that's my chaos. But my chaos is not like toxic personalities or difficult personalities being in my orbit. I'm not into that. I'm not really into that. So 12 years old, 13, 14.
Exactly.
Okay, because we get us back on track.
Yeah.
Podcrushed. I felt like I had a very normal. I didn't get in trouble. Again, my trouble was like talking too much in class. I'm gonna ask an authority figure a question. I would feel like I was a little bit of a like, okay, yeah, I'll do that, but why? Because that doesn't make sense. And so that had to be annoying to raise. I wouldn't want. I'm gonna have to deal with that one day. I'm sure my kids will be like that.
Your mom, you talked about your mom being between West Virginia and Baltimore and spending time maybe like throughout the week or on the weekend with just your siblings at home. And I wonder what that was like for you. Like if I think back to middle school and I imagine my parents out of the house, I feel like for a time that could be really fun and exciting. Like I remember one time my parents were traveling and my brother, who was probably 20 at the time, took care of me. And there was like chaos at home. Like we had frozen a Dr. Pepper and taken it out and it exploded in the room. And like there's memories like that. But I wonder, was that your experience, or were there times when you wish she was home?
Yeah, I think there were times when I was like, this is so not fair that she has to go work all the way in West Virginia and like be gone for a week at a time, because we were very close. And so that was hard. But there were always people around, like my aunt. I remember the time I had the little baby meltdown about that. My aunt was there. My aunt from London. She was there. Like, and so I was surrounded by a lot of love. But yeah, my mom's like such a cool, easy lady. And so I do think more than that, it was more like, oh, I want her to not have to be in residency somewhere else. How did this not pan out? And then I think by the time I was like, I think sixth grade was the last year she was away, like in splitting time like that, if I'm not mistaken. And so that more than the absence of a dad being felt and being like sad about that, I was like, I want my mom to like just be here, just be here full time. And so that was the last year of that. But as far as my siblings go, I feel like they all felt really responsible for me because I'm the youngest. My sister was away at college, literally down the street at Johns Hopkins, but like never, just living a life. And then I was with my brothers, and yeah, I feel like they both felt like we have to make sure she's okay. But that was easy.
You're fine.
I wasn't even like boring. I was fun, but I was bored. I wasn't I wasn't living in a movie, so I wasn't like getting in trouble or like I want to like hook up with guys when I'm 13. I'm like, I was kind of a tomboy too. And so I remember the first time someone said I was attractive, because I just never thought of myself that way. But that is not to say I thought I wasn't attractive. I wasn't thinking about it at all. And I heard a guy, are you allowed to say, I'm going to say last names. I rarely remember people's first last names. This guy, Josh Curtin, we were on a field trip, maybe to Hershey Park. I don't know. We were on a bus, and we were 13 or 14 at this time. I think maybe 14. And we're on a field trip on a bus, and I hear him say my name. And I remember where on the bus I was. We were like seats apart, and I was like, what? Why did you say my name? He was like, we were naming all the girls in whatever grade that we think are hot. And I was like, what? Aww. Oh, well, this is interesting. And even still, when I went to college, though, I remember I went to USC, and I remember hanging out with some football players and being like, well, you guys see me as one of the boys. And they're like, no, we don't. And I said this to Michael Che last week. I was like, no. You guys are the SNL one. Somebody that works at SNL was in Paris with us for the Olympics. And I was like, well, they like hanging out with me because I'm like one of the boys. And Lauren is her name. Lauren asked Michael, he came down the hall. She's like, do you see Ego as one of the boys? And he's like, no, hell no. Little sister.
That's even funnier that you think of yourself as one of the boys, and they're like, no.
they're all like, what are you talking about? And I go, and then even when Michael's like, hell no, I was like, I was thinking about it days later when I was driving upstate. I was like, well, I get it. He thinks he doesn't see me that way, but that's how he sees me.
Do you want to be seen as one of the boys? What?
No, I just like, I don't know. I don't actually care how I'm seen in that regard, but I'm a little like, I don't know what that's about, because even I promise you, I was still like, well, he just doesn't understand how he sees me. He's seeing me as little sister because when we text, I'm always on the side of the woman, and so that put me in the little sister. But I'm like, the reality is, you see me as one of your boys. You see me as one of your boys who's giving you sound advice about women. That's
so interesting. Ego, this makes me wonder how you, in general, feel about, because I feel like that perspective of like, oh, they thought I was hot, but like it doesn't seem like it motivated you, or I feel like that's uncommon, or I can't relate to that. I would have been thrilled. I still remember the first guy who I heard thought I was attractive, and it was when I was 16, and I still remember. So it was like very meaningful to me.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
How did you deal with rejection? Like, I've heard you say that rejection is the comfort zone for actors. How did you deal with it as a kid? Do you have any memories of being rejected? Have you always been kind of like dirt off my shoulder?
I think largely dirt off my shoulder. I don't know what it is or where it came from. Like, if I was trying to pinpoint when that started, I just feel like if you grew up with the name Ego, in the era of Eggo waffles. And then I really just think you develop a sort of resilience and fortitude. But then also the full name is Eggo Bunma. So when they're calling attendance in school and the teacher goes, I'm going to need help with this one, and then still tries. And I'm going to just wait for the help. Just wait for the help. Please, just me trying to get ahead of it. And I'm like, okay, they're on the N last names. And I'm just like, okay, I'm good. That's N-O-N. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to be next. I think that created a level of resilience where I'm like, I guess I've always just been a little strange. I'm stranger than people also suppose of me. But anyway, yeah, I don't care about getting rejected too much.
Do you remember any crushes that you did have in middle school? That's a question we ask all of our guests. Like, tell us a story around that experience.
Oh my gosh. I used to have a crush on this guy named Andreas. He was beautiful, Greek man. It's funny because I sometimes will see these people on social media now and I'll have a memory. There's like not too many people I remember from middle school and high school, honestly. But every once in a while I'll remember someone and I go, wonder what they're up to. And I look and I go, wow, imagine us ending up together. That'd be crazy. That's crazy. I had a crush on you. You would be so lucky. That's maybe terrible to say, but I'm like, wow, God really protects his soldiers and soldiettes because I had some interesting taste growing up. Yeah, but everyone thought he was cute. Having a crush is the tits. I think crushes are better than relationships. I think crushes... If you could just like have a kid with a crush, don't get to know them too well and just remain crushes and we do this like will they, won't they? That's ideal. Crush energy is it. Because I'm like, I think if he'd like been like, okay, be my girlfriend, I'd be like, oh.
Immediately, ick.
No, ick. I had a boyfriend, Jonathan, in 6th grade. I forgot about him for like 3 days. And I was like, oh my God, now that you're my boyfriend, I have the ick and I'm running from you in the hallway. This is not how to be in a relationship. And so we broke up. But then I never had a boyfriend. I did not have a boyfriend again until I was a grown-ass woman in like 2 years ago. And that was bad.
Did he give you the ick once you got together?
That guy? Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Pretty much right away. Pretty much straight away. And then the ick only grew and grew and grew and grew and grew until I was like, I'm actually full-blown throwing up every time I'm around you. But not because of my tummy problems.
Right,
Separate
issues.
issues.
Add to them.
You're just giving me more tummy problems, hard stress, etc. Anyway, yeah, I think truly, hot take from me, having a crush is it. We should be able to have families with our crushes.
Yeah.
Like, I had a crush on one of my TAs at USC. I was a bio major, my organic chemistry TA. So you can only imagine. I remember his full name. I won't say it. Anyway, this motherfucker looked like Harry Potter, but that was my baby. Yeah.
This show is brought to you by Symbiotica. I started taking Symbiotica because I was working very long hours on my show, finishing the last season, and I was still finding the time to see my family, which meant I was not getting a lot of time to sleep. I was getting run down. I was worried about getting sick. And I didn't want to sacrifice the time I spent with my family. Couldn't sacrifice the time I spent at work. So I wanted to see a bit of a change. I wanted to get in better shape. Since taking their products, I've noticed that I have had more energy. I'm not as worried about getting sick. I'm sleeping better. Honestly, I think vitamins can make anywhere from a huge to a subtle difference. These, I've never felt more supported by a vitamin regimen. I've never even spoken about a vitamin regimen. This one, it's pretty impressive. They are formulated with the highest quality ingredients out there. Symbiotica is transparent about how and where they source their ingredients to ensure you get the best products possible. Their formulas don't have any seed oils, preservatives, toxins, artificial additives, or natural flavors. Their flavors actually are shockingly good. I take the glutathione, the magnesium L-threonate, I think is how you say it, and the vitamin C. The vitamin C tastes delicious. The magnesium is like a dessert treat. I rely on the glutathione and the vitamin C in the morning for a kick because I actually don't drink coffee. The magnesium I've heard is very good in coffee, but I take it almost like a treat before bed or in the mornings when I am feeling like I haven't had enough recovery. I take it then or kind of anytime I feel like I need it. Yeah, I can't recommend this stuff enough. So, feel more energized, alert, and balanced with high-quality supplements that work. Head over to symbiotica.com/podcrushed for 20% off plus free shipping on your subscription order. So what would then a real crush be? Like, what would a substantive crush constitute?
Or do you ever
Where
feel
I'm
like
like,
you've gotten
oh.
your heart broken? I'm curious.
Have I got my heart broken? Yes, I've had my heart broken. Remember that like person I dated where like my stomach hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah, that for sure. Just because I am a very sensitive person.
Pisces.
I'm a Pisces, and so incredibly sensitive, but not just in the sense that like, oh, my feelings can get hurt easily. Just I'm sensitive to energy. You know how I was like, Penn, I can see in his rectangle that he's a little more closed off. Picking up on that. I'm picking up on that from the computer screen. But I asked my agent the other day. Well, no, my agent set me up on a date. And
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think auditions and meetings are bad enough. You don't need them working on dates for you.
I would say hot take, but I'm like, not that hot of a take at all. I'm like, that's a valid take. And so she and I are pretty close. But then I go, oh, by the way, hey, I had a crush 72 hours ago, but I killed it. I was like, I'm just going to fill you in on this person. I was like, I spent Thursday to Sunday having a crush, but I said last night I squashed it. And she's like, and I tell her, and she goes, oh, I know this. I'm like 1 degree of separation from this person. Like I can hit someone up and ask. And I go, no, I did the math, and it just wouldn't be a thing. And she, against my wishes, outed me. And then has just put me in this very vulnerable position where they're like, oh, maybe you guys can get together, but maybe this and that. And I go, does the other person tell this person? Because now I'm uncomfortable. And I literally told you not to out me. And she was like, well, they asked who?
She's no longer your agent.
I was like, do I have to fire her?
Maybe.
And then she goes, uh-oh, am I in trouble? And I'm like, you don't care. Like truly in that tone, I was like, uh-oh, am I in trouble? I'm like, but I think she thinks that like I am being guarded. And I think a lot of people think that about me, in terms of like men and dating. But I don't think I've missed out on some spectacular person. I'm not as guarded as people think I am.
There's something special about that crush feeling for sure. And I'm married now, have been for like close to 7 years. And I do remember looking over my husband and thinking, I'll never have a crush again. Like, how sad. But then we had a baby. And then I actually feel like in some ways a baby makes things more complicated and like, you know, it's harder to connect in some ways with your partner. But I also feel like that crush feeling has come back because you have this new thing in the mix. So, you know, there's hope.
You get to see him in a new light where you're like, oh, he's a dad. Look at him dadding. That's cute.
Yeah.
See, things like that. Just eternal. Maybe that's a book title. Eternal crushes.
Yeah.
Forever crush.
I love that.
Something like that. Yeah, something.
Ego, we want to move on to your illustrious career, but we have one more question that we ask every guest about the middle school years, which is, do you have an embarrassing story, like an awkward memory or something that stands out?
Gosh, embarrassing story from middle school. Okay, in middle school, I was walking. Do you remember when like going to the mall was like a Friday night out? Was that a thing? Yeah, going to the mall.
For sure.
So I went to the mall. Yeah, and I was wearing stonewashed jeans, which is like kiss of death for me because it also shat in my pants as an adult in stonewashed jeans. Anyway,
Nice.
stomach always hurts. Nice, thank you. Where's my publicist? Is she on here? I think I got my period, and I was walking around the mall on a Friday night wearing my little stonewashed flares, and a girl tapped me on the shoulder, and I was like, she for sure wants to tell me she likes my outfit. And she's like, you have your period. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm walking around with my Onion pretzel. Oh God. Okay. So I was like, I have to go home. I remember that and feeling like that stuck out to me. And I was like, oh shit. And now, like, I don't have anything to tie around my waist. This is really, really
I'm so
bad
impressed
news.
with that girl to like go up to you and tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Because you know when there's like something in someone's teeth or like a boogie hanging out someone's nose and you're talking to them and you're like, do I tell them or do I not tell them?
Yeah.
I applaud a person who can be like, I'm going to tell this person, because I think that's an uncomfortable spot to be in, to be the one to have to like let a person know, hey, there's a thing happening with you right now. And so, yeah, kudos to her. Kudos to her. White Marsh Mall, Baltimore. I used to spend so much time at White Marsh Mall. That was the mall. I lived down the street from that mall. That was my whole personality, going to White Marsh Mall and being like, oh my goodness. And had a gene addiction that has followed me into adulthood. I have so many genes and I'm not proud of it. It's a thing that I was so skinny but kind of tall, so like lanky, and I could never find jeans that like fit but were long enough. And if they fit, they weren't long enough, and if they were long enough, they didn't actually like fit width wise. So now I feel like I trace this to my youth, where I go, now I find jeans that fit and I go, I have to buy them. Jeans never fit when I was
Scarcity
younger.
mindset.
And so I have so many jeans. So many jeans. It's upsetting.
You obviously, I mean, you're such an icon. You're amazing. We could go on and on, but I feel like some of your characters, the most memorable, Lisa from Temecula, Rich Auntie Veranda. I want to know, when everyone around you is breaking, how do you keep it together?
Someone asked me that recently. What did I say?
It's a terrible question. What?
But she doesn't give a fuck. It's pretty clear.
I just answered it. You can look at another podcast.
No, I actually meant to compliment you guys on how thoroughly you research, because I feel like you're asking really great questions. And this is not blowing smoke. I would not blow smoke. I genuinely was like, what if more interview experiences were like this one? Because you guys really did your research, and that's so fucking cool. How do I not break? I think because I've done it when I had done it so many times. When, for instance, Lisa from Temecula, I feel like so many of my giggles out at table read. I could barely get through the sketch at table read because I remember being like, this doesn't even get picked because I could barely perform it at table read. And that's a first. And I'm like, I think because growing up, I got in trouble. My cousin and I used to get in trouble for laughing at all the wrong things. And so I think we had perfected the art of being like, I'm laughing, but I don't want you to know I'm laughing. That said, in Lisa from Temecula, the first one, I do almost laugh in that one. And then I gather myself.
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
do almost laugh, but everyone else is like fully breaking. So sometimes I feel like laughter is contagious. So it's amazing to me that you don't. Because by the end of that skit, everyone has broken except for you, I think.
I didn't think we were going to get to do it. It didn't go well at dress rehearsal. Like, a lot of technicalities got in the way there. And so when I got to do it, I kind of was like, oh, we're doing it, because I did another sketch that night, and it was between Lisa from Temecula and that sketch. And I was like, well, that one killed. And this one that we all had high hopes for just was like, it didn't work out because of technicalities. But God bless Pedro Pascal, because he fought for it. But I think by the time I love him. He's the best. But by the time I got to do it, I was like, oh, we're doing it. I wasn't expecting it. So there was like, I feel like I was like barreling through in a sense, because I'm like, I didn't think we were doing this.
Does it feel good when you're in a scene and you're acting and the rest of the people are breaking? I feel like that would feel good.
It does feel satisfying. I think if you start to like zoom out a little bit though, and you're like, oh, people are laughing, you're not in character anymore. And I think part of what helps me not break is that I'm like just being Lisa. And I'm like, she doesn't think any of this shit's funny. She's like, I'm eating my steak. If you want to hear me absolutely lose it, I do this podcast, Comedy Bang Bang, sometimes with my friends. I'm a guest on it. And Scott Aukerman runs it, and he gave one of my characters a spin-off show, Entrepreneur something. It's like Shark Tank or something. Anyway, my friends Drew Tarver and Carl Tart guest on there with me, and sit on a panel of sorts on that podcast with me. And they do make me break. I can't even talk. And I bet you it's annoying for a listener. It's like, okay, girl, but they're so funny. And so that's me not being professional, but I'm having a time on that podcast.
Okay, we'll have to check that out.
You have described working on SNL as like comedy residency. And I'm curious, what do you think is one of the most unexpected lessons that you've learned from your time there?
That's great. I didn't think I would learn to be a producer. I feel like I have got the skills now to produce. So when you get a sketch on at SNL, it's your responsibility to then produce it. That's not the language I would have used early in my tenure there. I've been like, yeah, we get to make all the decisions about what color chair we want and what color so-and-so's shirt is. And I go, in retrospect, I'm like, you're producing, you're learning to produce. And so that's something I didn't plan, a skill I didn't plan to get there. And I'm a far more like adaptable person. I mean, I think improv helped me be far more adaptable than I was before I started improv, but even more so now with SNL. Everything is so last minute. I think a friend of mine is coming to work at SNL, not because of me. And I heard he was asking, like, are we sure? I haven't heard anything from them about tomorrow. And I'm like, that's just how it works there. And to me, I'm like, I'm not stressed, but oh my God, I remember 7 years ago or 6 years ago when I started being like, where's the information? Why isn't it in place? And I'm like, you'll get it. It's fine, which is not my MO normally, but it's like, you'll get it before you need it, even if it's right before you need it. Like if you guys had sent me a link to the podcast 5 minutes before we started, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Because I got it right before. But that's not how the rest of the world operates.
Yeah.
Well, that's to some degree, I feel like, I would imagine SNL is the most, but I feel like Hollywood, everything entertainment, my experience, is I'm kind of the same way. I'm just kind of like, yeah, it'll be there by the time I need it. I don't know where I'm going or when it is, but
yeah, literally, exactly. I feel like that is and it's so counter to my personality. I love to plan and I love order.
Yeah. A lot of former castmates and actors who go on the show for a week have talked about like the high stress, high anxiety, lack of sleep. You've been on for 7, 8 seasons. How are you?
Going on to 7.
Amazing. How are you handling all of that? Sort of, how has it affected your, I guess, mental health or your emotional journey?
Okay, so my like sophomore year of college, I have these very, I don't know why I remember these random things, but I remember being like, you know what I really value? Sleep. And I decided, I was like, I'm going to be a person who gets 8 hours of sleep. That's dead and gone. I don't want to say I have trouble with sleep. It's just not the same. I'm certainly getting a lot less of it. And as a person who really values sleep, it's such a balancing act because I'm like, you can't get the sleep and get the things done you want to get done. I talked to my therapist about this because like it's so strange. I'm like, I really value sleep, yet I love a slow morning. And it feels like I can't have both of those things. A full night of sleep and a slow morning, and one has to be sacrificed. And I'm like, and how do I decide which one to sacrifice? Because there's all these studies about how sleep is beneficial to you, but then what a slow morning means for me is like getting to ease into my day. And she's like, there's studies about that too. And I go, well, how do I decide which one to sacrifice and which one to really protect? That's hard for me. And you need to tend to your mental health in order to be successful on the show, but there's so many things tugging at you and there's so little time. There are like concrete places you have to be. And you might have stopped working last night at 1 a.m. on the cold open, but now you have to wake back up and come in really early tomorrow. And we're never like crazy early, but it's like you have to wake up and get in here in the morning. And I'm like, so I struggle with that. I don't know what the equation is. I often think like, oh, it'll be cool one day in my life when I'm not thinking about, I don't have to think about this thing. Cause I don't think, and I love math. And that's probably where the like type A thing comes in. I'm like, I really love math. I love like answers. I love 2 + 2 is 4. And so I'm like, what's the equation where I can actually find this balance? And every once in a while when I find out that like someone else on my cast is maybe not balancing as well as it seems from the outside, not because like they're going crazy, but like, oh, they haven't answered emails for 2 weeks. I go, okay, I'm not alone. And that is reassuring. And you don't want to be like, oh, you're also drowning. That feels good. But it is like, okay, it makes me take things a little easier on myself, or be a little easier on myself, I should say.
Yeah. You and Mikey Day have a running gag that you're like a diva on set. And I was just curious, without naming names, allegedly, what is the most diva-like behavior you've ever seen from a guest on the show?
I feel like you're going to name some names.
Or you?
I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name names. I will not do that. Most diva-like Interestingly, I haven't seen, what I've seen is like a host be like, I don't want to do this sketch for insane reasons. Like where I'm all for people having an opinion. I think opinionated people go off. I love that for you. But every once in a while I go, well, that's strange. I like where they're trying to be really domineering about what goes and doesn't go. And I'm like, the people who have the best shows here sort of surrender to the process a little bit. I don't be totally like hands off laissez-faire, but or should I say laissez-faire, but I'm like, but there's got to be some trust that like producers do know what they're doing, as like nonsensical as the place can be at times. And so that's what I've seen, that where a person's being really domineering and controlling in terms of what type of episode they think they're crafting, and they somehow think they're producing their own episode, and it's like, it doesn't really work that way. But I haven't seen anything crazy. Like I think people are, I don't want to say on their best behavior because that's also not true. But I think people are mindful about showing their diva ways. And so even what I've witnessed is like not necessarily firsthand. It's like grapevine is like, oh, well, that sketch is not happening now, or this thing's not happening now because someone, i.e. the host, was like, no, because of this wild reason. So, yeah.
I wonder if that's affected also by the fact that much of your time there has been during and post-COVID, you know? Because it feels to me like there is something to say about, that, which we don't often reference that much anymore because it's like too close. It was too long and it's too close for us to always be talking about it. But that's a very real thing.
That was real. It was. I don't know. COVID times it was strange. I'm so grateful to have been working during COVID, like deeply grateful. What freaking lottery number did I get that I get to like have a job while other people were not in that position, and so many people weren't in that position. I feel really fortunate. It was also just a strange time to be doing like sketch comedy. We had first responders in the audience for those first shows back during COVID, and they were tough crowds. And I'm like, you just were saving lives all day. Like, you don't think this shit's funny. And it's late. And you're like, in my free time, I'm going to come sit to it, like watch a multicam taping. And so there's a picture that was like floating around of somebody reading a book during the monologue, like a full blown textbook.
That. I wasn't sure if that was real.
It was real. That was real. Because basically that audience that was the last time I think we had first responders, because it was like, oh, that was a good idea, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, we think we're providing relief, and it's like they're tired and this is not,
it's not relief.
This is not relief to us. Like, you've asked us to come sit for hours and in these little bleachers.
Yeah, give us a spot.
That was a real thing.
At midnight.
At midnight. Like,
I'm fucking exhausted, man.
Yeah,
I have to be studying.
And so, fully a man in the audience reading, leg crossed during the monologue. Like, couldn't be less interested. It was like, and they were not laughing. I just remember being like, they don't think this shit is funny.
Wow.
They don't want to be here. Can we go back to other people who are excited? So anyway, that was such a strange time, and it does feel like forever ago. And then I'm like, it wasn't that long ago. I feel like I've lived 7 lives since then. Truly.
Wow.
So many questions. I'll stick with this one about your new podcast, Thanks Dad. I have listened to the first episode, which I love the premise. I think it's genius, especially it's hard to come up with an original podcast idea, but you did it.
Thank you.
But I wonder, in your interviews with dads or people who are old enough to be your dad, what's maybe the most interesting lesson you've gleaned?
Fantastic question, Sophie. Thank you for that. I would say dads, it's kind of what I suspected, even embarking on this journey of having this podcast. So I don't know if it's so much a lesson as much as it's like an affirmation of sorts, that like dads are complicated for everyone, seemingly. And there's so much overlap in people's experiences, even if their upbringing was different. And then given the like age, the age of the men I'm speaking to, you sort of, despite everyone's dad being different, there's so much overlap in their experiences, and we talk about the context in which everyone's growing up, and you go, wow, what a different time that was. Dads today, I think, even hearing my guests talk about the way they approach fatherhood, sounds so remarkably different than the way their own fathers approached it. But again, that was like a function of the time in which they were rearing children. So I think it's cool to talk about it, because I'm like, people, there's a lot of like, man, I get a lot of feedback that's like, so far, which has been really cool. People being like, as a person who has a complicated relationship with my dad, this is like refreshing. And no one really talks about it. I didn't think it was an interesting, I kind of maintain it's not an interesting thing about me. But I was trying to pitch a show a long time ago, 2017, and I was like, let's do one about being first gen. And this network was like, we already have one like that. And I was like, let's do one about how I've never had a boyfriend. And they're like, we kind of already have one about, and I was like, okay. And we can only have one. So of each of those. And so I was like, okay, dig deep. What else is there? What else is there? And then I was like, oh, about you. And I was like, oh, I don't have a relationship with my dad. Literally never think about it. So truly had to be like, there's got to be something else unique about you, because these people are saying they've got one of all the things that pertain to you. So, but it made me go, I have so many, just hearing friends talk about their dads, and reading Father's Day posts on Instagram. I saw someone, I put this in Pages one day when I was pitching the show, but I was like, someone posted, I think everyone knows I hit the jackpot when it comes to dads on Father's Day. And I go, you don't need a caption like that if everyone's having a blast with dads too. So I'm like, that caption is only relevant because perhaps people are not hitting the jackpot. But it's cool to like, to just feel like I've created a space for people to talk about their experiences. Some people are having really positive experiences, and that's really cool to hear. And some people are having less positive experiences, and then some of them are sort of like in the middle of the road there. A lot of them seemingly are. And it's just cool to feel like, people are really connected. And I love making people feel connected. That's important to me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Taking a nice segue from that last beautiful resting place, we'll hit you with our last question, which you don't know anything about. It's a simple one. It's a simple one.
You scared me. I felt my butthole.
Ego's laptop just closed.
My stomach stopped hurting. I go, what is going to ask me? Okay.
It's simple. It's simple. Take it as deep or not as you like.
Okay.
Going back to 12-year-old Ego, if you could say or do anything, what would it be?
And I'm adult Ego talking to 12-year-old Ego.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Dios mío. Let's see. Cut that out, by the way. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak in Spanish, but I love Spanish. I think I'm allowed to.
I think you're allowed to.
Yeah, give her permission.
Yeah, I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm giving you permission.
Oh my gosh. And I get to go, my one Puerto Rican friend said I could. That's what I have one Puerto Rican friend. I count, and she said that I'm allowed. Okay. No, I just want to go, girl, just keep doing you. You're doing right, and you're doing great. Just keep on doing you. That's it. Because I was weird then, and now I think I'm only weirder, and I love it for me. I love it for me how weird I am. Yeah, that's that. That. Thank you. Great. This is a great question. Yeah. All great questions.
I feel like I put the fear of God into
nice.
you.
It takes no research.
Yeah, it's great.
No research. That's why you got to ask it. Penn has not researched at all. Penn has done no research, and now he got to
show up at the end.
No, he listened to your 2 podcasts. That's a lot of research.
No, I know. I'm just giving Penn shit because he's the only man here, I guess.
Do it.
He's sitting on the edge of his bed. So.
Just lay it on my shoulders. All of your resentment, all 3 of you.
No.
Come on, do it.
No,
do it.
I don't. No, you know what? I want to go on the record as saying I do not think men are trash. I also did not grow up being told men are trash. Was not raised. This is also the like irony. I wasn't raised by a woman who was like, oh, I have friends who were raised by people who were sort of resentful of former partners, and my mom just wasn't like that. I mean, she's really cool, chill. She's a like really chill little meek lady, cool lady.
I love that.
Yeah, she's a sweetie pie. Yeah.
You mean meek in the good sense? Because
meek in a good
you don't
sense.
actually hear people use that term in a good way, but actually I think it has so many positive connotations.
Yeah.
I would, if I meant it negatively, the word I would have used is like timid.
Sure.
That-
Yeah.
Not into timidity.
You're talking about the ones who will inherit the earth.
Yeah,
Those
the
kind of
meek.
meek.
Okay,
Yeah.
honey, the meek. You know what they gonna do? Get the whole earth. That's the ego translation of the Bible. Let me do all that. Honey, you know what the meek gonna do?
On our
Get
Christian
the earth.
podcast. You can watch Mr. Throwback on Peacock now, and you can follow Ego Nwodim online at Eggy Boom.
We are so excited that you can now listen to Podcrushed ad-free on Amazon Music. In fact, you can listen to any episode of Podcrushed ad-free right now on Amazon Music with an Amazon Prime membership.
I wear a lot of black, and I'm like, I think I fuck with red. Are we allowed to cuss on this podcast?
Yes, you are.
You'll
Thank
be the first, but go ahead. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure if it was a Christian podcast. I wasn't totally clear. Okay.